Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, it's 2016. Hillary Clinton was inevitable. It was unquestioned. Water was wet. Air is crisp. Hillary Clinton is inevitable to be president of the United States. Donald Trump, Republicans, for the most part, they were throwing their feces at each other for red meat and nickels. And the American public wept at its luck. Now, I would argue that this isn't necessarily a thing of luck. That for the most part, taking your eye off the ball allows this particular situation to take place politically. Beyond that, though, the public wanted change. In 2008, the first black president of the United States told them that he was the avatar of hope and change. And he was not. He was a brand. He was a slogan. And he said whatever he had to say to get the people to essentially put him in that office. He was able to find a goblin that was big enough to keep him in that office. In the likes of Mitt Romney. Hillary Clinton in no way has Obama's charm. Hillary Clinton had a lawsuit hanging over her head that could have put Hillary Clinton in prison. Democrats pretended it wasn't a big deal. WikiLeaks released information showing that Hillary Clinton had monetized the State Department. Hillary bots, not a big deal. The woman is still inevitable. Out from the shadows, in the blackets of jungles, this rebel, this wild man, came out with a broad short, banging his chest. Wild and crazy hair. From the tiny state of Vermont, the tiny senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders. Nobody gave him a chance. Hillary Clinton had a 60-point lead over Sanders because for the most part, nobody knew who Sanders even was. Now, the grassroots, they loved the guy. The people who knew him loved him. And yet, all of them, for the most part, still had this feeling like, oh man, this guy doesn't have a chance, but we're going to support him. He's our guy. He represents our values. We're going to support him. Now, what most people didn't know was that this wild man, this barbarian, this rebel, this crazy leftist, he had a special power. He had a magic trick. He had this weapon of his that he could bring out and he can use in moments of strife, in moments of trouble. Sanders would get to a microphone and he would scream things in it that would shock the conscience, that would inflame the hopes of the people who were in that auditorium. And for certain people, will make them feel things. He would give them this idea that the country can be a fundamentally different place. And that what we have is status quo and normal in no way needs to be that way. The resources of this country can be used for the people of this country. There is no reason for the country that has the most wealth on the planet to have half of that country in poverty. There's no reason. If we're going to say that an individual has worth, that an individual has value, that's by virtue of you being a person, there's inherent and intrinsic worth to what you are. You are unique among the people of this particular planet, and there is nothing else on this planet like you. And if we're going to ascribe value to things of uniqueness, then you are goddamn valuable. That's an amazing thing to hear. Now, it's not just hearing it. It's also this thing of, well, this is what this guy's been saying for the past 40 years. It rattled in you. Resonated. You sat there in an auditorium, thousands of you, and you knew that even though I don't know this person, in this very specific way, this person and I are linked. And what he is saying is rattling in me in the same way it's rattling in them. And in this particular point, we're united. We understand one another in a fundamental way that goes beyond communication. That guy came screaming from the shadows. In order to stop that guy, they used brute force. They cheated. They cheated. They cheated based on their own bylaws, but they also cheated just in a fundamental way of undermining democracy itself. 100,000 people thrown off the rolls in Brooklyn. The number is amazing to me because that's Bernie's hometown. Now, everybody will say, hey, that's just happenstance, dude. That happens. Sometimes 100,000 people get thrown off the rolls. Nothing fishy there. Nevada by itself was a fuckfest. And they stole that state. And then the DNC, who was supposed to be partial, turned around and pushed stories out that Bernie Sanders people were throwing chairs. Well, that's interesting. There were no chairs being thrown, and yet that's the narrative to which they went with. One state after the next shut down polling locations, decreasing them by as much as 60% in some cases. Now, this is immensely peculiar because Bernie Sanders was bringing all of these new people to the polls. In some cases, you had rules that said this particular person has to have been registered a Democrat going back for like months and months and months before you even knew who was going to be on the ballot. They did what they could to suppress Sanders' chances of winning that election. And despite all of the drawbacks from him not going for the jugular early on, for them not being known, nobody even knowing who he was, for him not really getting in his head that he had a chance to win it, because he himself thought he was just doing it to push her to the left. He could have won. And without the cheating, we have no idea what would have taken place. What I do know is he was better against Trump. He was better against all the other Republicans. And Hillary Clinton was fundamentally worse against all the other Republicans, in many cases losing to some of them. One in particular, a reality show host. Donald Trump is your president. Bernie Sanders was beating the stuffing out of Trump in spades by like 10, 15 points. Hillary Clinton lost. Hillary Clinton lost. Now, as the primaries came to a close, and it became very apparent that they cheated, the honest man that we followed all this time, that we stomped for, that we were willing to fight for, have a political revolution for, and I'm using fight in metaphorical terms, that guy went to the DNC, to the convention. He was broken. He was battered. They brought him naked in a cage, like the Romans used to do. And his supporters stood there, shocked, aghast at what they were saying. And they held his body up on a stick. They made him crow to the glory of the DNC. And that's what he did. And he threw his support behind Hillary Clinton. And his supporters wept. Openly, unabashedly, wept. The man who was calling this woman a crook just 2 or 3 weeks ago is now saying he wants this woman to be president of the United States. You must understand that this was painful. And to the onlookers of this particular event, the people who invested themselves into this idea of holy shit, this world can be different, and for the first time understood that on a gut level, like actually got it, flesh to bone, got it, not walking around in this kind of robotic trance, but oh right, we make the determination on what our government is. It's our responsibility. We have the capacity to change what this country is. This guy gave us that vision. This guy, for the first time in a lot of people's lives, they could see it, they could touch it. They really believe fundamentally that they could actually get to that particular place. That was Bernie Sanders. They broke him. They broke him. They made the honest man crow things that the honest man shouldn't have crowed if he was going to continue to be honest and maintain his integrity. His supporters, again, wept, dispirited, broken and hurt, angry, immensely, epically angry. Not only did you undermine the democracy itself, not only did you undermine Sanders, the main victim in this, as everyone walked away, were the American public. The millions of people that voted for Sanders, the millions of people that sent money Sanders' way, those were the victims in all this. Yes, Sanders was somewhat of a victim, but Sanders was an avatar of the will of the people. He was an expression of something that was in the public that needed to be expressed. The money that was sent to Sanders was done so as a way of fostering that, to saying, we believe in this so much, we're going to give you this thing that deals with our scarcity, because we believe you can change this country for the better. Well, they cheated that guy. That guy was fundamentally cheated. When the WikiLeaks came out, you could see the things that was taking place behind the scenes. Not just that, they broke their own laws. Meaning the DNC was supposed to be fair and neutral in the prosecution of their primaries. They were not fair and neutral in the prosecution of their primaries. Well, that's a problem. Epic pain needs to be expressed. Enter Jared Beck. Now, Jared Beck is a Harvard-educated lawyer that found us bleeding and dispirited and hurt. Found us weeping. Found us not knowing what to do. He found us angry and pissed off. Jared Beck brought a lawsuit against the DNC. It's a fraud lawsuit. That lawsuit essentially makes the point, and it's pretty straightforward. You defrauded millions of people, millions of dollars. Meaning, in your own bylaws, you say you're going to prosecute this case or your primaries fairly. The WikiLeaks exposed that you did not prosecute it fairly, that you guys cheated. And you cheated in order to benefit one of your candidates, even though your bylaws said that is not what you're supposed to do. Beyond your bylaw saying that's not what you're supposed to do, you also told the American public that you were being fair in the way you were prosecuting your primaries, and that they can trust that you were being fair. He takes him to court. Now, amazing things are said in court. So the DNC making this argument that, hey, we can lie when we want to lie. What's in our bylaws amounts to only a political promise. We can lie when we want to lie. Now, I'm not saying we lied in that primaries, and I'm not saying that we cheated based on our own bylaws. I would argue they cheated beyond their bylaws, but based on their own bylaws. But I'm just saying we can. If we wanted to choose a candidate in a smoky-filled room, we could do that. We are the Democratic Party. Now, that's mind-blowing to a lot of people to hear that. That was not mind-blowing to me. Because the truth of the matter is that the DNC and the Republican Party are two corporations. They can do whatever the hell they want. If the Republican Party and the Democratic Party just said, nah, we don't want to have these primaries, we're just going to choose a candidate. You pick them or not. We're putting him up in the general election. They could do that. They can well within their right to do that. Now, the reason they don't is because they want you to be a part of the process, because they want the best person to win, meaning their chances are better at you choosing somebody if you had part of the choices, at least in the beginning, or in some part of the beginning. But they're not bound by that. Now, here's the problem with the DNC's argument. Because I'm making the point that what the DNC is saying there is somewhat true. They can lie if they want to lie. They were a corporation. We can do whatever the hell we want. There's one catch. You kept telling the public that the process was fair, that you guys were being honest, that you guys weren't cheating. When people said, dude, it looks like you're cheating. What the fuck? This is cheating. You said we were being sore losers. You wagged your finger at us. And you said we are running a fair and honest contest and you guys are just being sore losers. Now we're sending Bernie Sanders money. Tens of millions of dollars. And we're sending them this predicated on this idea that he is running in a fair contest. Now, if Deborah Wasserman Schultz came out and said, look, you can send Bernie Sanders your money, but we're going to cheat. We're going to do whatever we have to do to get Hillary Clinton through these primaries so she can run against Donald Trump. It's her turn. Fuck your feelings. Now, if she would have said that, that would have been honest. And if people would have sent their money, people couldn't have complained. But that's not what took place. She essentially told us something that wasn't true. She lied. And in pursuit of that lie, we sent more money to Sanders thinking it's a fair and honest process. Lo and behold, you have smoking gun evidence saying the process wasn't fair. The process was not honest. The process was massively tilted towards one of the candidates, despite the DNC telling us that they were being fair and honest. That's called fraud. Think of a company that has a penis growth cream, and they say, look, trust us. In a week, you'd be massive. You'd be epically massive in 1 week. Trust us. Now, if you're using that for a week, you've spent your money. You didn't grow. You may have even shrinked a little bit. Didn't that company tell you? Like, would you have paid that money for that product if that company told you that this product didn't work? That this product actually shrunk a few inches? And that the person put it out purely for comedic reasons because he thought it was just funny as hell to have a business doing that. Certainly he lied. His advertisement was a lie. His presentation was a lie. Everything in that particular process was a lie designed to get people to give their money. I'm making the point that the DNC is almost somewhat of the same. You had a company, check. Both companies told you a lie, check. Because the process wasn't fair and honest. Bernie Sanders wasn't running an honest process. Should the DNC, because they lied to the public and they told the public things that was massively untrue in regards to the fact that they were being unfair and how they were prosecuting the primaries, should they have to pay the people their money back? Should the public just assume that if they're entering into a primary and they're giving money to a candidate in a primary, that the apparatus itself, the party apparatus, will cheat for a particular candidate, despite what they're saying? Their bylaw says you got to be fair and honest. They say we're being fair and honest. People are sending money predicated on them being fair and honest. And guess what? They weren't being fair and honest. It seems only right that if you're lying to us, and your lie allowed for millions and millions and millions of dollars to be given in vain to one of the candidates, then yes, you should pay the people their money back. Those people would have never sent that money if you would have been telling them the truth. If you would have been telling them the truth, they couldn't complain, but that's not what took place. You lied. So Beck has essentially called the DNC on their lying and cheating. And it's a class action lawsuit with the idea that the DNC needs to reimburse the people for the money that they paid to the Sanders campaign. They gave that money in vain. They gave that money believing, again, I'm repeating this because I need to make this plainly clear, that the DNC, yes, can do whatever they want internally inside their own company. But the moment they step out and say, you can participate in this process, and this process is going to be honest, and it's going to be fair, and we're going to treat both candidates evenly, and you can be free to send your money knowing and understanding that. If they don't do that, then the money that was sent was being sent under false pretense. It was fraud. The DNC should have to pay their money back. Beyond fraud for a moment, you do understand that what they did subverted democracy. It's subverted democracy. You have a process where people in a particular country makes a determination on who they want to govern them. The public was in a very different mood. They wanted change. They were very clear that what they wanted was change. They wanted something fundamentally different that's been there for the past 40, 50 years. The expression of that was Sanders on the left. The expression of that was Trump on the right. Our populace versus their populace. Our populace would beat the stuffing out of their populace. Beyond that, though, the fact that they were willing to say it's her turn and to take one step after the next to undermine what the public itself wanted is terrifying and is immensely problematic. And the story should be getting far more press. Jared Beck should be getting far more attention than what he has been getting. Mainstream media, for the most part, has ignored this. Sanders has ignored this. All these other people have ignored this, even though we're talking about our political institution and being able to make the determination on who we want to run our country. If that's not important enough for attention, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. Jared Beck is doing God's work. He's doing God's work. And he should get credit for it. He should get credit for it. The progressive soapbox thanks you. I know that doesn't mean much. I know that doesn't necessarily matter per se in the grand scheme of things. But in this case, when somebody is doing something good, I do want to give them applause. And everybody looked around and had no idea what to do. They knew they were hurt. They knew they were bothered by what the DNC did. And somebody stood up and said, yeah, no, we're going to make this hurt. You cheated us. You cheated our guy. There should be a penalty associated with cheating our guy, particularly when we're talking about subverting the will of the American people. Each and every person who Donald Trump hurts, each and every person who loses their health care, each and every person who's murdered abroad. That stuff is on the head of the DNC. The Republican Party told you what they were going to do. They were very clear on what they were going to do. And the things that the DNC did, one step after the next, one arrogant decision after the next, one cheating choice after the next, inevitably ended up putting Trump in that office. Yes, Trump may be the avatar of a lot of bad shit to come, but yes, it's also true that the DNC is the one who put him there. You can't create that much bad blood and still believe that your party is cohesive. You've lost 15 million members. This guy is the avatar of a lot of people's anger. And I hope he can extract a pound of flesh. Your party needs to fundamentally change, and anything that's going to take place in this country for the betterment is going to come from the left. It always has. It always will. The way this party is arranged right now, it is incompetent. It is feckless. It has lost its total philosophical basis for existence. And right now, it's pretty worthless in regards to getting anything done. It is my great hope that the lawsuit hurts. I hope it burns. I hope they need to get back each and every dollar that each and every person gave to Bernie Sanders. Because A, they cheated Sanders. And B, those people thought they were participating in a fair process. And C, those people would have never given their money if the DNC was being honest about what it was doing. Good job, Jared Beck. And thank you for your service. It's appreciated. You may have all these other news personalities and everything else who don't care what Jared Beck is doing or something, even deride the guy, which is mind-blowing to me. But I appreciate what he's doing. And even if they don't appreciate it, they may benefit from what he's doing. Just in the sense of getting that party to expose some of the things that they are doing behind the scenes. And not just that, trying to force a new way of doing things in regards to politics, knowing that there could be legal consequences if these guys aren't behaving in an honest and appropriate way, at least in regards to the elections to which they themselves hold. I would like to go further and have independent elections even in primaries, but this is a start, and they should pay for the things that they did in the primaries. So I'll leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoyed the content, feel free to share, rate, subscribe. You can always support the work through Patreon. Thank you.